I always said it's streaming live on YouTube. What's the name of your YouTube?
Efi Talks.
I always said it's streaming live on YouTube. What's the name of your YouTube?
Did that just Efi Talks? Okay, so there is a lag.
That is echoing, like it's echoing again.
Yeah. Now we can hear each other.
Yes, it's not echoing now. You froze. Where you go? Can't see.
You see me now? I can see you.
I can see you now. Yes, you had
Yeah.
just froze up.
Yeah. Okay. So now we're on YouTube and we're on Zoom. So what's going on YouTube is also going on Zoom. So we're live on both. Okay.
Okay, I see you now.
Do you see me on YouTube?
I see you on YouTube. Yes.
Cool. All right. So I'm going to take the YouTube and I'm going to put it on. Let me send that. Put it on Facebook.
Okay.
That's how you have to do all of this stuff. Oh, this technology, I tell you, but I'm
It
learning.
is something. Yes, it's a daily process of learning and everything.
Okay. Okay, and I'm going to send it to myself and then I'm going to put it on Facebook. Okay, so you can see me on YouTube.
Yes, it's
Good.
like behind. It's like it's not up. It
Yeah,
hadn't caught up, but it's behind.
yeah,
But
it's
I
a
can see
lag on
yes.
YouTube. That's what I was advised that it will be a lag on YouTube, but people will still be able to see it. Okay, let's see. Sent. Hold on. Inbox. Oh no, wrong account. Okay. Oh, there it is. I'm going to copy the URL. I'm now going to put it on Facebook. And we are going to go live because we are not recorded. And I'll start the recording. We are live with author Tanisha Banks. There we go. Post. I'm going to copy this. Okay. Then I'll go to my personal page. And we will start the recording. All right, so it is 7:01 p.m. Central Standard Time, and I am here. This is Efi, Dr. Efi, with my guest today, Tanisha Bankston, author Tanisha Bankston. And in this month of domestic violence awareness, we are talking about her story. It is so important that we understand that it is not your fault, and how many times when women experience abuse, domestic violence, it often comes from a past and a history, a story, something that have made a woman that would normally not allow such things to happen. And I'm sure she wonders why. I'm sure each woman, when the statistics shows that 2 out of 5 girls are sexually abused, 2 out of 5. That means that every 5 girl you see, every 5 girls you see, 2 of them have been sexually molested. And you say, what does this have to do with domestic violence? Like anything It is the theater that leads girls to believe that they are not enough. So I want to talk to author Tanisha Bankston tonight to talk about her story. And then we're going to travel through the times that she felt that she was worth it and how that happened. And what did she do? And how did she get out? And how did that childhood, that girl in the childhood that may have experienced pain and betrayal, how did that happen? So, Tanisha, I am so excited to have you here today on EFE Talks. I am super stoked. You are definitely by far a very, very interesting, I read your bio, what you sent to me, and I am most blessed to have you here this evening. So talk to us, Tanisha. Tell us a little bit about yourself before we begin to go into your story.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm glad to be here. It's an honor to be here. And yes, I'm Tanisha. I'm from Grenada, Mississippi, born and raised. I have three children, and I have a fiance and three stepchildren. And I'm a sexual assault survivor. I'm a survivor of sexual assault, rape, molestation, incest, bullying, grief, teen pregnancy, domestic violence, and narcissistic abuse. Many people don't
Mm,
understand what narcissistic abuse is, and I am definitely an overcomer now,
mhm,
and I am thriving to help other people, women and children. And I am the proud author of My Pain is My Power. I'm starting
mhm,
a nonprofit organization called I Believe You. And like I just said, praying to help other people, motivate and inspire and educate others on trauma and mental health and mental illness because things are real, and to know that you can overcome just because you
mhm.
go through something. And I thank God I don't look like what I've gone through. That's
Yeah.
who I am.
Wow. So, Tanisha, I'm going to ask some questions, and it seems like that you're not afraid to answer those questions. We didn't get to go through our typical, let's talk about what we're going to talk about. On EFE Talks, what I normally do is everything is it's very organic. I don't have where I create this list of questions for you. It is a conversation and it's candid. Can you tell me what happened in your childhood that you say that your pain became your power? What happened? Let's start there. What happened in your life?
What happened is when I first got raped and molested at the age of 5 years old, and not being it traumatized me not knowing the terminologies of what trauma, rape, molestation, any of those things. Because before things happened to me, I was once a playful little girl. I was happy playing with friends, cousins. And I remember before being taken to the hospital, I was just I became someone else. It's like my brain had done a shift. And I
Mhm.
remember that moment. And since then, I've never been the same. All of this started in my childhood at the age of 5 years old, 5 years old, the tender age is 5.
So at 5 years old, my God, I'm in education and I was the principal of a school. And I've seen some stories, and I'm gonna tell you, at 5, you're in kinder. You are just learning how to socialize. You're just learning how to trust the adults. You trust your mom, or you trust your parents, typically. But you're just learning how to trust someone outside of that sphere, right? You
Right.
you you build relationships. You're learning to read, and it's really a fun time. You're learning to how to make friends and how to lose friends. It's just that 5-year-old kindergarten. So what you're telling me is that when I look at it from the sphere of where I come from, I'm looking at a 5-year-old that is very withdrawn. I'm looking at a 5-year-old that does not trust. I'm looking at a 5-year-old that is hypersensitive when it's time to go to the bathroom. I'm looking at a 5-year-old um, that people may think is a little behind in the ability to do the work, but it's because so many other things are on this child's mind. Tell me, am I right or am I wrong? I'm just going by being a principal and what I've seen.
Yes, you are most definitely right.
Okay.
Everything that you said, you are most definitely right because I was all of those things and I failed kindergarten. I like just became, I wasn't able to focus anymore. I wasn't able to stay on task. And two, I had missed over 60 days of
Mm,
school.
hmm
And, I had a hard time reading and paying attention and everything. So
hmm
everything you said was right. And they ended up, placing me like in a special class, like special education. But I wasn't special. It was just the trauma that had happened to me when I was little and everything.
Yeah.
Starting out at the age of 5.
Wow. And so when that happened, was it a family member or a close friend?
It was a friend of the family. He was, yes, my somebody in my family member was talking to him, friends or something like that. But I just know he was around my family a lot.
Hmm. I always describe rape as a murder. That's how I just
You froze.
can. We're good now.
Yes, we're good.
Okay. Yeah, I describe rape as a murder because I believe that when a child is raped, something in them dies. The innocence of who they are dies. Who they aspired to be or who they thought they could be dies. The dreams, the dolls don't look the same. The playing with siblings are not the same. I think the person that you are, until you become alive again, I believe that person dies. Can you talk about that?
Yes, I believe that too because, like I said, I was once playful, playing with my cousin, playing with toys. And the moment that that happened, before going to the hospital, I wasn't playful anymore. It's just that my brain had done a shift, and it's like I just became somebody else. I was easily guarded. Every time somebody would come around, I would be startled. I would hide under the bed. I would be
Mm,
afraid. And I would just be scared. I wasn't laughing like I used to. I wasn't playing like I used to. And I was just scared. It's like I was just scared all the time. And just started getting picked on and bullied and everything as this
okay.
little age and this little girl.
Okay. And so my heart goes out to you because I was a girl too that was raped at the age of 3.
Oh my.
So when I hear it, I understand the trajectory and the things that we do to survive. Hiding under the bed, but were it as you began to get older? Let's talk about now you're past the elementary stage and now you are in middle school. Now puberty is hitting, the attraction to boys are hitting. What happens to Tanisha?
Oh my. Well, I didn't have a childhood because from the age of 5 and all the way to 23 years old, I was being raped, molested, and going through abuse, not from my family members, but from men who were taking advantage of me and manipulating me. So I didn't get to experience, dating and having a boyfriend and liking the boys and things like that because I now had low self-esteem and I'm ugly. Nobody wants nobody like me. And I I'm just not enough. And who's gonna talk to somebody like me? And ugly smile. I just had all these negative thoughts about myself. And I really didn't have friends in school because I would always walk to myself, be to myself. So I never experienced it. I never got a chance to go to prom. I never got a chance to explore that childhood at all because from 5 years old, literally all the way until 23 years old, I was being abused. All of those years from five, there was very rare that there were times when I was not being, raped, molested, or abused, sexually assaulted by men, and being in a domestic violence situation. And it was more of non-function than function because kids were I always kept a frown on my face. I didn't see it, but they saw it. They said that I would never laugh, that I wanted to talk to other kids. I wanted to, be in groups, but I didn't know how. I guess it's because of all the things that I was going through, but I was still able to, pick my books up and go to school. And school was my way out. Because I was so focused in school, but I wouldn't focus, but I was able to focus enough to take tests and to pass the test because I wanted to finish school. I just loved going to school. And I knew at school I didn't have any problems.
Mhm.
It was every now and then that, someone would say, hey, Tanisha like older guys or grown men, but that was not my case. I didn't like grown men. I didn't want grown men to be, you know, touching me and doing things to me. I lost my inner voice at 5 years old. And I spoke out at 5 years old, but I was not believed at five
Oh,
years old. And
mm,
so that even put more muteness on me. I told the police, I told the hospital people, I told what had happened, I told my family members, and I still was not believed. He was never locked up. And to this day, I say I was failed, neglected, and never protected by
mm.
some of my family members and especially the system. I was 5. I had to learn how to rewalk. He had messed my legs up. Doctor said I would never have kids because I was damaged so bad. There was blood on the sheets at the hospital. And, I'm going in and out and just nothing was ever done. But I was called a liar. They said I was lying, which I was not. All the proof and the evidence was there, but my first rapist said he didn't do it, so he was never locked up or charged. And that was back in 1993
Mm.
when it first happened.
Okay, so what was your mom and dad doing when they found who took you to the doctor? And what were your parents doing when they found out? What were your siblings doing? Who were the people who were around you? Who didn't believe you? You say they, but who didn't believe you?
My grandmother didn't believe me, and yes, my grandmother, and obviously the system, the police, and the hospital didn't because I was at my grandmother's house and the man was still there at my grandmother's house and he did not leave. My grandmother and my mom and my aunt went to my great grandmother's house and like I said, the guy he stayed there and I was trying not to fall asleep, but I couldn't help it. So I fell asleep. Next thing I knew, I felt this guy on top of me, opening my legs and going inside of me, doing, just getting on me and wouldn't get off of me. By the grace of God, I was able to kick him with my knee somehow. Now, 5 years old, and he's grown in his 30s. And I get up, never forget, I had this black dress on. And I ran across the railroad tracks to my great grandmother house, and my mom was there. And I was crying, and I said that this man touched me. I didn't know, or never heard of rape or anything like that. I just knew he did something bad to me. I didn't understand. And my mom was there. She called the ambulance, called 911, and the ambulance got there. But I was told that my grandmother, even now, my grandmother, she will say that that man said he didn't do that to you. He didn't do those things to you. Many people say, girl, you was just fast. At 5 years old, and this is a 30-some-year-old man. I
Mm.
just turned 36, and this man was in his 30s when this happened to me at 5 years old. So that caused me to change. It traumatized me, and I then became someone else. I was never the same after that. Never the same.
Yeah. And so, leading to that, you said you were in school. I think you mentioned that as a teen, you became pregnant. Do you think that it had anything to do with um, the fact that this happened to you? Were you looking
Um,
for love?
No, I wasn't looking for love. I was 13 years old when my cousin's husband got me pregnant. He was coming to my aunt's house because the system had taken me and my three siblings from my mom after I got raped, and my mom couldn't take care of us the way she needed to because my mom battles with mental illness, and she battled with mental illness then. She had me at 16. And so,
Okay.
like I said, my aunt adopted me and my baby brother, and my cousin husband would come to my aunt's house all the time. And when they were in the room and would be asleep, he would come into the room and get me out of the room, take me back into the living room, and he would have sex with me. And then he would get me to meet him at him and my cousin's house, who's now deceased, my cousin, which was his wife. And he would introduce me to pornography, have me watching pornography. He would put Vaseline grease on my private area as well as his area because my body was so little.
You
So
were just a
I
child.
was just a child. I was 13, and he too was in his 30s when he was doing those things to me. And he came inside of me. I didn't know what it was going on. I'm 13. I wasn't educated on these things. Nobody knew. I didn't learn about these in school. We didn't talk about it until later on in growing up in school. But it came inside of me, and I didn't know that I would become pregnant by him doing that.
Yeah.
And so my dad noticed that I was sleeping a lot. So he and his wife decided to take me to the health department, and they confirmed that I was pregnant. And so that's how I found out that I was pregnant. I didn't even know I was pregnant. I didn't know
You're
at 13.
13.
And
Yeah.
I was 13, and my cousin's husband was 36. And I just turned 36. And so he got me pregnant then. And I didn't abort my baby. I kept my baby because they explained to me what an abortion was. And I said, I don't want to kill a baby, but I don't want to have a baby at
Mhm.
13.
Yeah.
And so I had her, and I'm still in seventh grade. And yes, and he just continued doing that for years. He continued to come to my aunt's house, and like it was nothing. It was until my daughter turned a year old, she started looking like him. And my cousin suggested that a DNA test got done, and it was. And two, I feel as though the court system, the judge and the DNA testing people failed me because here we are, I'm 15, the guy is 36 or 37 now, and they're in there swabbing us. This grown man, and I'm this 15-year-old girl. My daughter is a year old then. And the judge never said, well, we're going to remain, we're going to let these results come back, this man's baby. He's gonna charges will be pressed. He will be charged for what he's done because this is a child, a minor, and this is a grown man. None
Mhm.
of that was ever said. None of that was ever done. DNA test comes back confirming that my daughter's dad is her father. I could read, but I didn't understand the terminology of
Yeah.
what it said. 99% that you are the biological father. And so that was swept under the rug. My family member didn't press charges. My cousin didn't leave him. May she rest in peace. But she didn't leave him. And it was just swept under the rug. And I just continued on. I had to live in the same household where all the things kept going on in the household. I wanted to live with my dad because I was staying back and forth with my dad and with my aunt time to time. But I just feel as though after not aborting my baby, I never stayed with my dad anymore. So that's where I have, that daddy issue, that abandonment issue, that rejection, and the thing of seeking out seeking love later on in life, because I never had that. Never had that love from mom, dad. And so you just seek it and then find it in all the wrong places. And so that's what happened. That is exactly what happened. But he never got locked up. There were a total of 6 men who, raped and molested me, and nobody ever got charged or locked up.
And so
And
when you talked about in the introduction, you talked about you talked about trying to look for love with narcissistic people. What was it that you sought that
can you hear me? I think you froze up again.
I can hear
You
you?
said what? Okay, you said, what did you say about narcissistic abuse
I
or
said, so you
narcissistic?
found yourself in narcissistic relationships, right?
Right.
What do you believe? I know that you say, because I have experienced all of this, I was looking for love that I never had, and I should have gotten from my father. I shouldn't have had daddy issues, but because my father, after having my child, it seemed like my father too rejected me from that point. What led you to go into abusive mentally, physically, and sexual relationships with someone now that you're choosing? You know that you see these issues with this person. What made you say, um, I'm going to choose you anyway? Or was it conscious? Was it a conscious choosing or a subconscious because they showed you something?
Well, the guy, he was very attractive to me, and I still had very low self-esteem when I got out of the abusive relationship at the age of 23 years old that I had been in for 9 years, from the age of 14 till 23 years old. Not that I wanted to, it's because that I was forced into something. And so when I never felt that I was pretty enough, and when I saw somebody, and somebody, it was like very attractive to me and wanted to talk to me and date me. And so I was like, how could somebody as ugly as I am have somebody as, nice looking as he was, and wanted to talk to somebody like me? And so we started talking, started dating and everything. And I just ignored the signs that were there in the beginning, like first he started with the love bombing and telling me how pretty I was, grooming me, charming me, and taking me out on dates. And I fell heads over heels. I fell in love at first sight because I've never had a real boyfriend. This was my somebody real to me. And all of the gaslighting started, and all of the cheating, and the coming in at all different times of the night and saying, oh, well, I'm sorry, I love you, I love you, I won't do it again, and all of that. And I started researching these topics and things, what I was going through, and that's how I found out about narcissistic abuse.
Mhm.
And everything like that. And I just still felt as though, oh, he said he's not going to do it again. Do he really love me? And saying all of these things to myself. Well, he is so fine. How can I let somebody like him go? How can somebody like that love somebody like me?
Mhm.
Somebody that's depressed. I'm going through things. I've been through rape, molestation, incest, all of these things, and this is my first real boyfriend. He
Mhm.
loves me. He said he loves me. And so that's when I went through all of that. And it was just toxic. And like I said, the gaslighting, and then the love bombing, and the just different things. And it took almost, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. It took me almost snapping out before leaving him. Actually, I did snap. And and that's when I knew then because at the time I now had two children and I wanted to be here for my kids. And so I was on the verge of going to jail. So I said that my friends, I talked me out of. They was like, Tanisha, it's not worth it. You have kids, you know. And I'm talking about committing suicide because I'm so in love, heads over heel with somebody who's doing all these things mentally to me and everything. And so I knew then that I had to leave. I knew then that I had to get away. I knew then because if I didn't, I was either going to hurt him bad or I'm either going to keep dealing with these things.
Mhm.
And so I knew that I just had to get away from that.
Mm,
And then just being in just toxic and dysfunctional relationship with guys.
mm. So you said that this particular guy, he told you the things that you probably had not heard a lot before in your life.
Never.
And so, and then did he ever physically abuse you?
He never physically abused me. He just mentally and emotionally and financially. I would do anything. I would borrow money from loan companies and do things, take care of him because I just thought that was love and that's what you had to do. And but it wasn't. He was just using me and using me for a place to stay. He didn't love me. I loved him.
Mhm.
At least I did. I had never been shown love before from, my mom, nor my dad, nor my aunt, or anyone. I have my children, but here it is. I love my children, love them, but I was just so messed up. I was messed up in the head. I wasn't, it's like I was going forward, but I was just living.
Mm,
But I wasn't there. My outer self was there, but my inner self, I was just damaged. I was torn. I was being bullied on my job. I was, just going through these things and just so many different things was going on.
okay. And so you talked about, see, I'm gonna go back. I'm gonna digress. You said that from the age of 14 to 23, you were forced in a relationship. Was that the cousin's husband who was raping you and he made you feel that you all were in a relationship?
No, that was my son's dad. My
Oh,
son, I was 14 and his dad was 23.
a
And it's
grown
like
man.
all of these guys were from the neighborhood where I lived at. So I
Mhm.
don't know if they plotted up because my mama wasn't in my life because she was in and out of prison, most of my life, and my daddy wasn't around, and there was a lot of alcohol being drank around my where I live. So I don't know if they saw that well, nobody's paying attention to her. So we're just gonna do these things to her. And so that's what was going on. And so from the age of 14 till 23, I moved out at 18, but the guy started coming to my aunt's house and being very verbal and cursing me out and calling me all kind of names. And when I moved out at 18, he moved in with me. I didn't want him, but I was afraid of him because
Mm,
he had started, that was the first time, that's when I entered the domestic situation. And I didn't know what domestic violence was. I had never heard of the name of, I've never heard of any of those titles that I'm I started hearing later in life. And he just would jump on me repetitively all the time and in front of my children and put me out of my own house and, spit in my face and just jump on me on. He would do those things all the time. I would have to stay on the phone with him all the time. And I couldn't sleep. And if I did go to sleep, when he got home, he drove trucks, he would jump on me. So I would have to fight my sleep and I would have to stay because he thought I was talking to other guys. He thought I was cheating on him. So that's why he wanted me on the phone all the time. And like he would sexually do things to me that I wouldn't want him to touch me, and he would do it anyways. Like I say, he spit on me, he spit in my face, and I knew I had to leave when he hit me with a baseball bat. And
Jesus.
yes, when he hit me with that baseball bat, I said, I gotta leave, because if I don't leave, my children, they won't have a mother. And so the way I got out, it was a guy. He inboxed me on Facebook. It was nobody. I say it was nobody but God. He was my angel sent, because the guy, I had never talked to anybody else because I was afraid of this guy, my son's dad, so bad. And he asked me out on a date, and I just asked him. I said sure. And so I told him I was in an abusive situation and I didn't know how to leave. I was afraid, and I asked him. I said, "Can you help me, because I don't know what to do?" And the guy, he was a bodyguard. He's still a bodyguard. And he said, sure. And I was like, we went out on a few days. I said, you want me to tell him about us? I said, because I really got to get out of this. Because if I don't, he's going to kill me. And
Mhm.
so I told the guy, I got packed up me and my kids' things and I left my home. But I told the guy, but then I knew he wouldn't take it well. He destroyed my house and everything, broke all my furniture, poured beer all over my clothes, the things that I couldn't get. I got enough of our clothes and things. I went somewhere else and stayed. And so that's how I got out of that domestic situation. When that guy helped, he rescued me. I tell people that he was my God sent him, because if if he hadn't sent somebody, I would have still been there. And and a lot of us stay because of so many things, fear, the battle women syndrome, and just we're scared, and feeling like nobody loves you, or you can't have date anybody, just so many different reasons. But domestic violence isn't love.
No.
Love should not hurt,
Yeah.
and it shouldn't, like it shouldn't. And I just thank God that this guy came through and he helped me out. And we actually tried to date, and he said, Tanisha, you're just so messed up right now, girl. You need to get yourself right. And I didn't realize how messed up I was, because the same things that had been done to me, with like people talking bad to me, crazy to me. Oh, I thought this guy was out cheating. I thought he would go to the gym, and I thought he was out. Oh, you must be talking to somebody. You doing this, you doing that. And just all those. He was like, Tanisha, I love you enough as a friend. You get yourself right. And if you ever need anything, I am here for you. And I
Right.
just thank God, because after being hit with that baseball bat, no
Mm.
turning back. Because he jumped on me in front of my kids. We had to lock ourselves in my room several times, and him knocking food out of my hands, spitting in my face, making me have sex with him when I didn't want to have sex with him, making me just do all kind of things. And then, you know, I just thank God, because I never looked back.
Mhm.
But I kept entering toxic and dysfunctional situations going on through life with
Yeah.
guys.
And what changed? Tell me what happened that you said enough. Okay. What was the aha moment in your life that made you say, no one's going to hit me no more. No one's going to degrade me. No one's going to play mind games with me. No one is going to sexually abuse me. And I'm definitely not going to allow my children to witness me be abused. I'm done. What happened? I do you remember that moment that you said, I'm done with this. I'm through. What happened?
Yes, I vowed to myself a few years ago and said, after getting out of toxic and dysfunctional situations, I said, you know, I just cannot allow my kids to continue to see me go through things.
Mhm.
I I want to, live for me and live and help other people. I have to practice what I preach. How can I go through something or still go through something, but try to be an advocate for women and children and others if I'm still battling with something? And so, no. No, I cannot. I said I cannot allow nobody. I would not allow nobody, no man or anyone else, to abuse me mentally, physically, psychologically, financially, or however. You know, I'm gonna move forward with life. I'm with someone. I have a fiance, and we've had battles, but we've worked through them.
Mm-hmm.
And so I feel as though he understands me and I understand him. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not easy sometimes because I have gone through
Yeah.
a lot
Yeah.
in my childhood and even my adolescent, teenage, and on up. And so it's only been 2020 when I broke silence. So I
Mm.
lived in all of that muteness, quietness, and isolation, and battle with suicidal thoughts and negativity, the rejection, the fear, the bullying, the humility, all of those things, the shame, the blame, all of these things. But I broke silence for the first time in 2020
Mm-hmm.
and shared my story publicly with the world.
Yeah.
So that was 27 years that I stayed quiet, mute,
Mm-hmm.
and traumatized. And I just cannot allow myself to go through, any type of abuse or any type of toxicity or dysfunction, and or sit around and watch somebody else go through it
Yeah.
because
So
we're not meant to.
when you see women, when you look at women, when you can you tell, like when I was because I was a girl who was sexually abused, I can always sniff out when a girl has been sexually abused. It's almost like a radar. And as I told you, I've been in education for almost 30 years. And one thing I can always tell when I hear people saying, "Oh, she's fast," or "Oh, she's 4 and she's touching herself." I'm like, or I hear, "Oh, just exploring." I say, you know what? Children don't understand what that is. Some I can always, it's the shyness, it's the quietness, it's the timidity, sometimes it's the vulgarity, or it's the loudness, or it's the aggression. So girls show off in different ways. Sometimes they show off as promiscuous, or sometimes they don't want any abused, mentally abused, deal with trauma. My question to you is, when you see a woman that says, "Oh, we're so happy," and it's something in your spirit or something about you that say, do you have, I always have those radars. I'm like, I know you're saying that, but or I'm watching how you are with him. I know that you're posting him, but it's something is not right about this situation. Talk about it.
Yes, I most definitely have that. I can sense that. I can feel it. It's like God put people in my place, in my presence. Like I can look at somebody, and sometimes I'll see a bruise on a woman, or I can tell, I can just feel it in my inside, and then I'll give someone a card and I share part of my story. And it's the look that they have on their face. And I always say, if you know somebody who's gone through or going through what I've gone through, the sexual assault or domestic violence, here's my number. I have resources available. And, let them know they can contact me.
Mm,
Some just, they'll look. And I've even had some to say, I'm going through it right now, but I'm afraid to leave. I don't know how. And, now they have the 988 crisis number. They have so many different numbers, and you can and I just pass things on down like a piece of paper or something and write on it
yeah,
because I know what you're going through
yeah,
because I've gone through it. And
yeah,
so I can just feel it. Yes, I can feel it all the time.
yeah.
All the time.
So your book. When did you decide to write your book?
I decided to write my book. I always said I was going to be a writer growing up,
All right.
and I always said it, but God spoke to me in a dream in 2020, 2018, and I started hearing his voice, and he told me to leave my job, and I left my job. He said it was time for him to start working on me, and he, like I said, I left my job in 2020. God delivered me September 4th, 2020, and he spoke to me again in a dream and said, it's time to write your book, January 2020. And so I picked up my laptop, I started writing, I started typing, and within a week, I had typed over 30,000 words
Wow.
and reached out to different publishers, publishing companies, and my book was birthed May 21st, 2021.
Wow.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. What when you talk about your book, when you began to share your story, have you ever had women come and say that's me, or that was me, or that is me?
Oh my, yes. So many women inbox still all the time. Like, I'm going through it. I have gone through it. They say they don't have the courage. Some don't have the courage to speak out. Some have started on their healing journey to go and get therapy and counseling and everything. And they said that my book really helps them, that it's a real good self-help book and that it's simple. It doesn't, it's a easy read. It's a quick 1 hour to 2 hour read
Yeah.
at the most and everything. And they say, me too. There's a lot of me too. Yes.
Wow. Wow. And I mean, just dressed up very pretty. Um,
Thank you.
I think that I see that I don't know who you were before, but I see who I see now, right?
Thank you.
And so it's so important, I believe, for women to put off the facade, right?
Yes.
And make sure that they are, if you are being abused, that you let someone know. But I think that sometimes it's not necessarily financing, because a lot of women are able to take care of themselves. But sometimes I think, like you mentioned, when the guy who loved bombed you, and you feel that you really love someone because you don't know what healthy love looks like.
Yes. Right. Yes.
I guess I'm shocked. I'm like, why would she do that? Or why would you stay there? And I think I said, you know what? Um, she's there because this is what she knows. And
Mm,
when you know better, that's what happened to you. You did better.
yes.
Right. And so I had to learn to, a lot of people would also say, just leave. It's
Mm-hmm.
it's not that easy.
It's not.
It's not that easy. And so I am so grateful when organizations and people like yourself decide that you are going to do something to speak to the hurt of women. I know that there are men that are go through domestic violence as well, but I'm a woman. And
Right.
so I can only talk to it from the preview that I see it as a woman. And so I am so grateful that you came on tonight. I posted it on both of Beefy Talks and my personal page. And go ahead and put the link where people can purchase your book, because trust me, a lot of women are being abused, but many are not talking. All
Yes.
right, guys, thank you so much for joining tonight. We had author Tanisha Bankston on with us, and she really just told her story. It's so important that we all share our truth, say where we are. And I know it's easier said than done, but trust me, you can do it, because I believe in you. I believe only the best in you. And so women like Tanisha and others in our country, and if you are in an abusive relationship, get help, um, get out, or lose your life. That's the only other option. And if you have children, what you allow your daughter to see is what she will live.
Man.
I love you guys. God bless you. As always, peace in and agape. Thank you so much, Tanisha. God bless you.
Welcome. Thank you.